You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Dating Den with Sean Fitz. Is your story around money leaking into your dating process? Ladies, welcome into the den today. I am so happy for you because I have the amazing Sean Fitz here. And you may ask, who is Sean? Well, let me tell you about him. Sean is a regular guy. He married someone he knew from middle school. They've been married 31 years, which is amazing in itself. What's really cool is that his expertise, and he can tell you more about his whole story and career, is that he helps women, smart, professional, educated women who aren't well-versed in finances to create financial freedom and independence and have everything they want to have in their life. He is a CFP, which is a financial planning certification. He's got lots more designations. He can tell us about those too. I wanted to have him on the show because I think for so many of you, especially if you've gone through divorce or you were in an experience where you were financially supporting someone and maybe that was a financial cost to you as well as an emotional cost, or you had one of those experiences and you're like, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to do money with a man again. He is here to give us some insight and some inspiration. So I'm super excited that I met you on LinkedIn so we could have this conversation today.
Excited for it, Marni. I'm really glad to have an opportunity to help.
So tell me, I know I gave really broad strokes, but of your story, but I'm really curious, when you started getting into this idea of helping people with money, what were you noticing most about the kind of struggles that women were having, and why did you, what inspired you to start really focusing on this topic with really successful women?
I'll tell you, Marni, I think there's one phrase that I'll use in that case, and that's confidence is key. And the way most of us get confidence is we learn, we practice, we get involved in something. And so I know there's a lot of areas and there'll be some confidence issues. So ladies, I'd like for you to think about it. None of us are born knowing how to do anything. We can't do anything. We can't, you can't wipe your face. I mean,
right.
You can't walk. And so everything requires a little education. And all of you out there that are so successful, maybe you're surgeons or attorneys or accountants or coders or whatever it is that you do, you had to learn how to do that. You had to admit you don't know how. You studied, you practiced, you learned. Money is the same way.
I think that's fascinating because we work closely with women who are so successful. And last summer we did a virtual retreat with 40 of our really active, engaged clients. And we talked a little bit about money and abundance and fear of money and fear of lack. And I was surprised because on the outside, these women, look like they have it all in that department because they're obviously investing in themselves and they're, they have great careers. I think one thing that is interesting is there are a lot of beliefs that we have, like I'm not good with numbers, or my dad did this for me, or my brother, or my ex, that was me. It's too much. I'm not interested. I just want to know that I'm okay, or I'm scared I'll mess it up. When someone comes to you with that, what do you say? What's the shift that women need to make in that?
I think the first thing is everyone needs to at least understand some basics. We know you made it through school, so you must know some amount of math. And so don't let math scare you because of that. But but just some basics of understanding, hey, how do I make sure that I'm not overdrawing my account? I mean, the fundamentals are so easy, but I'll use this example. I had an opportunity for a little while out of high school. I was a mechanic, and I know that has nothing to do with financial planning. And so what I did learn how to do some car work. I don't do it now. I hate it, but I can do it. And I understand when they say something to me about it, but I pay somebody to do that work. I don't keep doing it all. So it's okay to delegate, but you do want to learn some of the basics and the fundamentals and have some measure of confidence that what somebody's telling you at least sounds right. And it's not just junk. And they're not just using jargon or, the internal language that we tend to use on things. You using the letter CFP. And,
Planner, right?
And we use our acronyms too much. We got to stop that.
I read this book. I think is it called Your Money or Your Life? I can't remember. No, it wasn't that one. It was a different one. I'm going to find it on my Kindle because it was really interesting. But it was like this basics book that I read. And literally that was the thing that I really resonated. It was called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. But I literally, and he talks about that in there, that like you go in and you have these conversations with people in this arena and they're just throwing all these like numbers. And for me, I was like totally intimidated. And because of what you said, which I think is so interesting, I had a story going on. Like, I'm smart. I should know this stuff. And if I ask or I act like I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm weak. I'm not smart. I'm going to get taken advantage of. Yet when I would try and go like, read a book or look it up, it was still confusing to me, which is why you need to have somebody that you can actually trust and guide you in becoming informed.
Right. You do. And again, I don't know how to cook very well, but I don't practice.
Oh, right.
I understand the basic. Okay, that's a potato. Okay, I can figure this out a little bit. But I'm not afraid to say I don't get it. I think that's key. Don't be afraid to say I'm not sure. Who was it? It was just the other day. Simon Sinek, and I know we're all familiar with his work. And he put out there, it's okay to ask the dumb question because a lot of people in the room want to, but they're scared they'll look dumb.
Yeah. And that's something I want to crush, ladies. We don't know what we don't know, so we just need to ask. Okay, so let's just kind of go through some basics. And I think this is the other interesting thing I see in my clients. Okay, so some of them have been working in a career for like 20, 25 years or whatever. They have a 401k or they have some savings. They don't look at it. They don't ask for help around it. So they're constantly in fear. Like, if I retire, it's going to run out, or I'm afraid. They just feel very insecure, even if they have a pile of money. So let's talk, because they don't think about it or plan for it. So let's just talk about, I know you talk about fundamentals, and then we'll kind of talk about divorced and widowed women specifically. But let's just go over some fundamentals and basics. Like, real quick, what are some basics that our listeners should start to really like assess?
100% basics. You really, really, really should have minimum of 3 months of what you spend. It doesn't have to be what you make, it's what you spend. So if you're making $10,000 a month, but you only spend $6,000 after taxes, then you need 3 months of that in cash somewhere. And 3 is the minimum. When we say minimum, that's just going to get you by. 6 months is probably better. And because women, for whatever reason, can tend to maybe be out of work more often because they're caring for some family or there, some other things going on, and they seem to sacrifice more. I lean towards having more. So 6 months of what you spend in cash sitting in the bank, that money has a job, and its job is to be there. You don't invest that money. You put it in a savings or money market account, you get a little interest, but that's your bottom line safety net minimum. Then, and I use this other basic, especially if you are single for whatever reason, whether it's never married, widowed, divorced. This category crosses all of them. If you're single, you are the number one provider of your income. And so you've got to make sure that you have protected your income in some capacity, whether it's through work benefits or you supplement work benefits, or if you run your own business, then get some form of income protection in place. Disability insurance is really what I'm driving at in that, because if you get hurt, you could probably beg, borrow, or steal enough money to last you 3 to 6 months if it really came down to it. But what happens for the next 2 years or 3 years or longer? And so you've got to protect yourself that way. That's not selfish. That is making sure that you're going to be okay monetarily.
I love that. And I also am curious about prenups and things like that too. Like if you are afraid to get involved with someone, or you are afraid to bring up money, and you have been your sole provider, do women, in your experience, get uncomfortable with that topic? How does that kind of tie in at all?
I'll tell you, Marni, everybody gets uncomfortable with it. It's because we want love to be so romantic, and we're all in it together, and unfortunately it doesn't always work out that way. So it is one where I've counseled a few people, and it's like, look, you just want to protect your family, and most of the time it's been in situations where they've already been married before that I've talked to them. But it is about, and in fact, recently one client said he presented it this way: your kids are going to get what they're supposed to get. You've worked for it and earned it. You don't want it to go somewhere else. And so it was the presenting of the other person's needs versus his needs that she appreciated that thought process.
I love that. I think it's so important, and it's about how you message it. And what about this idea about your family history with money? I know for me, I just grew up with this family that was very much lack mentality. My dad was always worried about money. My family was notoriously it was a joke about being cheap. My dad tells the stories about his grandpa saying, you don't need to turn on the heat in New York in the winter, just buy some extra blankets, that kind of thing. And I really see how I really had to do a ton of work to unpack that. That makes a huge impact, right? In how people approach this financial security.
Oh, it does so much, and it can drive people one of two ways. Oftentimes, they'll either become so frugal or cheap, or whichever word you want to use, that they won't even pay for medical care they need, or it causes them to maybe hoard money so much it gets into some weird ways. And I did grow up without, grew up in a mobile home and had some secondhand clothes at times, and so what it taught me was. Number one, to work hard, of course, because working less wasn't going to make any difference, but to also make sure that I was putting aside, that it's not selfish to have money for a rainy day. It's not selfish to invest for the future, that you need to make sure that you're actually helping other people, because broke people can't help anyone. All the charities in the world, are funded typically by people that have lots of money. So by putting some aside for yourself, you're not being selfish. That's not selfish. Feel free to put aside for yourself, protect yourself, build your future, and then you can give beyond that and always help people.
I love that. It's like you have to they say, right, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
I use that one constantly. You do, because I've had a client who's actually they gave away all their income. Every time they got money, their family would beg them for money, and they would give it all away. And honestly, they got into their late 50s and they had saved no money. So who's going to help them now? Their family didn't have any money either. It was a terrible situation.
Yeah, and I think that's such an interesting thing too about, that money story also is I need to take care of other people, or I need to put other people before me. And it's an interesting dynamic. And that's why I love this idea of having confidence. And I know you talk about that money confidence comes from having like that room, some breathing room, some margin for error, emergencies. And also, like, I would guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, being able to make choices about your money rather than just everything is a have to or a should.
Or being backed into a corner because you don't have any room to make any choices. So now, you haven't saved enough to pay for those, your car needs a repair. That's a goofy thing, but if you can't go to work because your car needs a repair because you didn't save any money, you've limited yourself. You cut off your choices, and then you make choices that you really don't want to make. It starts a spiral in the wrong direction. And so we really want to encourage, create room so that you can relax, you can breathe, you can think.
I love that. I just feel more peaceful when you said that, Sean. Okay, let's talk about divorced or widowed women. Because I think that is a really interesting phenomenon that women find themselves in. And I think also it obviously would depend on the age at which those things happen, or whether it's the second time it's happened, or the third or first, or whatever it is. But what's your advice for women who are divorced or have found themselves widowed?
The number one thing that I start with is no immediate changes if you can help it. Because we're back to, it's a traumatic life change. Either way, whether it's a divorce or a widow situation, it's very traumatic. And you don't want to make big changes that you'll look back on in a year and think, I didn't need to do that, or I should have done it because I wasn't in my full state of mind. And that is a very important first base of what I call creating stability. Just keep things as status quo as you can so you can sort through the noise that's going on from well-meaning friends and relatives and whoever else. You need that, number one. Number two, you need to figure out what's going on with your finances in terms of, controlling your expenses and not going out buying something big right away just because maybe, let's say, if for a widow, you got a big insurance check and, I can just go buy a new car now. Well, maybe not, let's take some time here, or I've seen them go out and buy a new house. It's like, let's, hold on. But it really is about creating a stable picture, being able to find your voice, and doing it from a place where you're coming from comfort and calmness. And that will create more confidence in taking those next steps.
I love that advice. I know that when I got divorced, when I was like 38, and my ex-husband was kind of financially irresponsible, but always had a lot of money. And I went nutso, meaning that I was like, nothing's going to change for me, right? Like I'm just going to keep like denial, basically. That's what I did. And I was like, I'll just keep charging things on these credit cards. And I remember I was planning my daughter's bat mitzvah, and I had hired this person to do that. You can't afford this vendor or that thing for this party. And I was like, go find me more credit. Like, there's got to be someone who'll give me more credit. I was just like, so like my self-worth and my, what I thought it meant to be like a good mom. And I was trying to compete with my ex, right? Like, well, if you're going to pay for that, then I'll pay for this. And I didn't do anything of the things you're talking about. I didn't really look at what I had. I was totally in denial. I was so uneducated about money that I thought that my alimony was a lot because I didn't realize that while it might have been a lot based on the way I'd been living, that was not a lot. And it was terrifying. And I really didn't know who to turn to. So like, what's a great way to find a trusted source if you feel like, I just feel out of control and I don't know who to trust?
I think one of those keys comes back to what you do all the time with your tribe, so to speak, and that is talk to several people who have good experiences and then interview those resources. If you've got some friends that have good advisors, talk to two or three of them and trust your gut. Get it now. I'm going to say, I use the words trust your gut, meaning they've already talked to you, Marni. They've probably been through your program, so their gut is more trustworthy now.
Yep.
So I'm encouraging it in that sense of, but use your friends' recommendations. That's where most of my clients end up coming from is, their friend. In fact, yesterday, the sister of one of my clients called up and, we had an initial conversation to see would we be a good fit and can I help them on their next stage of planning. So that's pretty key component. Trust your friends that you trust.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, it was crazy. Just to like wake up one day and be like, I have a mountain of debt. I don't have I'm a nursery school teacher. Like something's got to change. I need a plan. So which I did, and I had to really become educated. So I think I consider my money recovery just as important as my recovery of like my self-worth and my my relationship, my ability to be in relationships. So I think how you do one thing is how you do everything. So let's talk about dating, Sean. So you are a lucky man and you haven't had to date in 31 years. But when you're out there, I think you add all this together, the things we've been talking about, right? Like not feeling stable, your money story, if you lost a bunch of money, if this is the only money you're going to get because you are widowed or you got a big check from a divorce and it's not going to go on forever, whatever it is. I see women tell me what they're looking for, and like the money thing is like a giant bucket of muck we have to walk through. So let's just talk about what do you think are some ways somebody can start to get clarity on what do they really need and what's just their crap? What are some things that they can start to think about to have clarity around dating and money?
Right. No, that's important. And obviously there's, some different, maybe regional differences on, who pays for stuff when you go out and different things like that. I'm not getting into that, but I think there's some fundamentals as I go back to it that are important. I think the guy should be able to pay his own way in some capacity, even if you want to pay or he wants, however you negotiate it in that sense in the early dating stages, but he should be able to.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking to raise somebody, you need a new child. That's one way to do it, but I don't recommend that from what we've talked about. But I think it's fine to just ask questions, just like things like, well, what kind of music do you like, and what's your favorite movie? And we ask all these fun things because yes, we want to enjoy a social life with this person. But I think it's perfectly fine to say, hey, what's your history with savings and making money or debt or any of those things? Credit, you can have, hey, how have you treated credit in the past? I think that's just an important thing to ask because it tracks you for years and it impacts the whole relationship to find out later on, I really like this guy, but by the way, he's bringing $500,000 debt into this deal. Are we going to be able to make it?
Yeah, I think I really love that you're bringing this up because, I feel like you're collecting data, right? I always call it data dating right at the beginning. You're collecting data. Does this person have the same values as you do? And of course, are you having fun? And I think people avoid this question. And I had a client once, I'm really curious what you think about this. I had a client once who wanted somebody to have financial security. That was they were in their 50s. She was dating in her 50s. She'd been divorced. Liked this guy, everything's going along just honky-dory. She's kind of avoiding the money question. He starts talking about the fact that he's made this commitment to pay for his kids' college. And because of his divorce and losing his house and having to pay alimony, he doesn't have it. The old nest egg has disappeared for the most part. And my client was really confused because on one hand, the other value really important to her was family. And she had sort of been being a great dad, right? And she couldn't reconcile it. She couldn't reconcile it. And so I'm curious, when you're working with men who are divorced and kind of quote unquote lose everything or have to reallocate, you get that perspective, right? Because they're in it. And I always want to have some compassion for those men. Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts on scenarios like that for women who are dating and how to handle things like that?
I think like any kind of planning we do, it comes back to what is it you're really after? What are your goals for this relationship, and how does that fit into it? Because there are things that you have to look at and go, that's a no. Whatever it is, I'm not picking anything out, but you have to have your yeses and your nos, and you have to stick with them because that's part of you, who you are, your character traits, and if they don't meet those things, no matter how much you think you'd like them, you're going to be unhappy. And so you want to have that certainty, and that is part of I think what you're trying to teach is how do you find the right person? Well, the right person has to meet certain criteria that are important to you.
Yeah, and I think that getting that clarity. So for her, like what she learned in that process was, number one, she didn't ask the right questions early enough. Mm-hmm. She was just like, oh, he has a good job and his his condo is nice and his kids are in college and it all looks good on the outside. So asking the questions earlier, which you suggested, and then you get clarity on what are your priorities. So for her, she valued that financial security more than this idea of, the kind of dad who would pay for his kids' college because he didn't want them to come out with debt. And I think like giving yourself permission to have those kinds of choices about what you really want is really, really important. And so I want to make sure we loop back to this. So when women come across men that have gone through divorce, and their money may be different than to what they had hoped it would be at a certain age of their life, is there any insight that you can give us around what it's like to be in that position, or questions that we can ask, or what we could expect?
I think the toughest part there is obviously everybody deals with it differently as part of it. So mentally there could be some things that, you need to make sure they've talked through and that you've talked through with them that are concerned, because their thing may be, again, they have to have the right mindset. That's probably what I focus on the most in that sense, is their mindset must be clear about their priorities, because guys will come through and just go, well, I'm just going to work forever. And they actually don't save after that. They just go, literally, I'll just work until I die, and then it won't matter because I'll be dead. And so I know. And so that's part of asking those right questions. And again, finding the right person. It's not necessarily about looks or their job or their income. It's got to be the package has to be what you're looking for. And, this isn't a car you can just sell later because you really wanted different kinds of color in the car or something. This is the relationship, and you want it to stick, obviously. I'll tell you the weirdest thing that I had come up several years ago, 2 remarriages that were happening. Yeah. They were an older couple in their early 60s, and they actually each made the other have some sort of coverage for when you're old and you need care. And it was very interesting because they didn't want to spend their own money paying for the other person's care. They wanted it to go to their kids. And it was just very, very interesting conversation to have with them. And so again, it's, things like that about taking care of family that are important, and you have to prioritize. What is your priority? Is it now, or is it future? Or is it my kids from my previous marriage? All those are conversations you have to have.
I love that. I love having that conversation. And that is such a great example of why you want to have. So, I'm a fan of having a professional, obviously, who can help you think about those things, because those are questions you would literally never think to ask yourself. Like, how do I want to do that? Unless you have somebody who's a financial planner who is thinking like way down the line and also knows all the different options. To me, it's like, duh. Okay, so you have a few, my team was like, he has some advice about like when you should run. Money signs that you're like, oh, run, people, run. And so I want to get that. And then also you have a little, I think ladies will be surprised. You have one thing that maybe you can train in someone. So when do you run, Sean? What are the run signs?
Well, I think the main thing you run is when they always have an excuse that they don't have money. Oh, I forgot this, or I left that, or I had this extra bill come up. It's garbage. It's garbage, ladies. And so trust your instinct that that's garbage and go, no, thank you. Or when he's always got money to party with his friends, but he doesn't have money to do other things that you want to do, run. Just leave that one, because guess what? He ain't that cute. I hate to tell you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. And also, I think, what about and I think this is interesting. What about their work history or their career? What do you think about that?
So I'll be personal on that. When I met my wife, I was just out of the Army, and I was working at the mall at a job, and didn't have a degree. Now, my point had been to go to the Army so I could get a degree. So I was enrolling in school. But it's a good example of, did I look like a star opportunity? No, you got to be kidding, but I had potential. The point is, I had goals and I had a plan for them, and I had some opportunity, and that made sense. And she had known me previously, so that gave a little more, family background. But I do look at things like, it's okay to ask, is there an ability to earn money? Do they have a history of keeping a job consistently? And I know in today's economy, people change jobs more frequently than in the past, and that's okay. But why are they changing? I know guys that they change jobs every, 6 months because somebody's always, they wronged me or they did something.
Right.
Look for those clues. Those clues. You've been around long enough, folks, to go, yeah, right. How come the job is always the problem? So you run into those situations, again, look at it and go, have they got opportunity? Are they smart enough? Do they have a good work ethic? What is their family work ethic? Those are sometimes some good clues too. Like, oh yeah, they come from a family that knows how to work and do things, or not. They come from a family that doesn't. Nobody does. He seems to always sort of have a job, but maybe not. No, you either decide you want to be the worker and pay for everything, or not. But that's not a good plan.
I think that's really important. That someone has like an idea of what they want to do, or they're passionate about it. I have a client, I love her story. She is like a CFO, like makes a boatload of money, and her partner is super passionate. He's a wilderness counselor for troubled kids, right? So he makes like 10% of her salary, right? But like, he is passionate. He's been involved in that career for a really long time, and she knew at her age what she was really looking for and what was important, and they totally made it work. He's passionate about what it is that he does. He didn't have the same attachment to the number of dollars in his bank account per se, and live real simply. So I think that that's a great example, because I have so many women who are like, he has to make X amount of dollars and he has to do this. And so I love that you're like asking deeper questions. Okay. Now, you also told my producers there is something that you can maybe teach a guy around money. So you don't want to throw this fish back into the sea. Right. If this is the one thing, what is that?
One thing, they can be taught to save if it's done in an encouraging way. Very key here. You can't do it from you can't buy that, you can't do this. The can't method doesn't work. It has to be about working towards some goals together. And you need to want to have something that you can do together. And if they buy into, because it's your goal and their goal together, then they're going to be encouraged to save. And so they can be taught to save, but it needs to be done in an encouraging way. For example,
I love that one.
My oldest daughter is married, and her and her husband love to travel. And because they love to travel together, they make sacrifices. Their thermostat really low, they eat at home all the time, and then they take 2-week trips to Italy, or they go, back to Nicaragua or wherever it is they want to go. And so he has no problem pouring his paycheck into that savings account so that they can do these travels together.
I am a fan of that. I trained my husband to save. That's why I kind of like that one. He was like, whatever. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, let's talk about what we want. And it's funny because he's still like, we did this. Can I just I just want to buy a jet ski. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that. What are we going to say no to if we say yes to the jet ski? So I do think... What? What'd you say?
How does that fit into the family dynamic?
Well, exactly. And so that's been a really good thing. And I really do have to give him tons of credit because just like, and this is what I think it's so easy to say. That's why I was asking kind of like men who go through divorce, like, that guy had his own, all the stuff you have, he came to it with all of his stories around money. And so, when I met my husband, I was super curious and compassionate around his story about money. And also he had to be trainable in a certain way because my ex-husband was like, spend, credit. He always made money and paid it off. But it was to me, it felt like so out of control and irresponsible. So I wanted somebody as a partner who was going to be measured and trainable. So I think, but having all those conversations early on, I just keep going back to that, like, the right guy is going to be super willing to have those conversations.
Absolutely will, because they're looking for the same thing. They hear the horror stories too of the wife who spent it all or charged it up on credit cards you didn't know or see, and they were hiding them. And so they have their own set of stories they've heard. So the right guy, they want to have this conversation with you. I
love that. Like that's like if I was a person who put memes on Instagram, that would be one. Maybe my team will do it because it's so good. Sean, thank you for being here. You are like the voice of reason. You're just like calm, cool, and collected. I really appreciate that LinkedIn brought us together. I'm so happy that you're here. Ladies, you can find out more about Sean in the show notes. Remember, run, train, and do it with some damn dignity. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.